So we're going to cook now Muntjac Tagine. So we've got some of the top side, the flank, really nice cuts of meat. We have trimmed out the sinew because some of the sinew doesn't really cook down as well. When you do it low and slow, it pretty much can do, but we've taken it out a little bit. Really lovely silky meat, and by far, you know, not being biased, my favourite. We're going to just get some hot oil. We're using rapeseed oil here. For me, it doesn't really have too much of a bitter taste and affect the cooking. So this is all going to be in one pan. So what we're going to do is get a really nice seal on the Muntjac. Okay, so we're going to make a paste now. So this has got some bay leaves in, some coriander seeds, some star anise. So just crush it all down. It's all going to cook out anyway, and it'll all break down. So there's no too much about getting it too fine. And it's going to be cooking for hours, so that'll all break up. But I'm not going to go too far than that. You can go as far as you like, but for me, I quite like the rusticness of having that inside. So we're now going to add that to our meat. You can really smell the aromatic flavours there, the star anise, the coriander. It's really going to give this a really punchy flavour. We've got some ras al hanout here, which is a spice. So this has got 10 different spices in, from allspice, cumin, nutmeg. So it is very strong, as you can tell. But it just gives a real background flavour to this dish. So next what we're going to do, we're going to start adding some veg. So we've got some red onions. We've got some carrots. We've got some butternut squash. And finally, we've got a few chickpeas. Keep this stirring. And you get all those lovely flavours there. So the veg is just going to cook down. You're going to get sweetness from all that veg. We've then got some tomato puree. And chopped tomatoes. These we've got some rosemary and some cinnamon. We're just going to put those in. You can pick those out after. And just let all that cook in now. So you've got the garlic in there, the ginger in there, all these lovely aromatic spices cooking down, the rosemary and the cinnamon. There's not too much veg compared to the Muntjac. So this is literally a one-pot cook. We've got a little bit of venison stock here, so we're just going to cover it with the venison stock. And then we're going to put that into the oven for about 3.5 hours on 150. If you're going to cook it overnight, you would lower the temperature, maybe 130. But the longer you cook it, it's all going to break down. It's going to really combine together. And then what we're going to do when we finish it, we've made a venison stock into a jus, and we're just going to mix that in so it gives this really richness and luxury taste to it. Okay, now we've got the tagine cooking in the oven, we're going to make the accompaniments for this dish. So this dish is more of a sort of feast dish for me. There's lots of elements to it to put in front of the table and everyone to enjoy. So the first part that I'm going to do is cauliflower rice. If you've got cauliflower knocking over, you just grate it down. If you've got a food blender, you can use a food blender, but as I say, sometimes the machinery takes the love for food out, and you know, if you're going to make it, you get more, you know, enjoyment from grating it down. So we're just going to grate it down into small pieces like so they look like grains of rice. If you are going to use the food blender, try not to do it too much. It's literally just a steady pulse rather than a blitz, because it will just turn to a paste otherwise. Cauliflower for me, again, is one thing that I champion quite a lot. Such an underrated vegetable, so versatile. It seems to end up on any demo I'm doing. It hasn't quite appeared on a dessert one yet, but there's still room for that, I'm sure. So we did this dish, this Muntjac, on the competition we did in Hotel Olympia. The Celtic Manor have a culinary team that we compete a couple of times a year. We chose Muntjac because it was a real talking point for the judges. It stood out, and chefs knew it and they were excited about it. We did it 3 ways. We did the pastille that I'm going to show you next. We made a bolognese by mincing the meat. Instead of making it into a sausage like we did, we made a really nice bolognese. We did a potato espuma and made a sort of filo crown on it. So it was sort of a deconstructed pie. And then, as we did with some of the other dishes, we just seared the loin then. And again, that was with some prunes. I think we did it with roast swede. So it was a very humble dish for such a luxury item.
And how was that received by the judges?
Really good, really good. You know, I think really good. I think the feedback was great. The judges were really enjoyed, and it was, you can tell judges are enjoying it when they come up, check the meat, check the flavour. They really enjoyed it. You know, it's quite simple to do a sort of chicken or a lamb that they've seen it and it's safe. We didn't want to be safe. We want to be traditional to Wales. We wanted to show homage to the venison, and it really paid off. We got a silver award in it, and was fantastic for the Celtic Manor. So we've got our cauliflower there. It's all grated down. We're just going to heat a pan, a little bit of oil, and then just fry it down. So into the cauli rice, just keep that cooking down. I've just used a bit of oil. Put some fennel seeds, really punchy aniseed flavour these. Going to go great with a tagine. And that's it. That'll take about 5 minutes. Needs stirring occasionally. And I've just got a little bit of chicken stock, which is just going to loosen it up a little bit. When it's cooking, you don't really want it to colour. And it'll take 4 to 5 minutes, that's it. So, the next part of our dish that we're going to do is the pastille. It's a Moroccan filo pastry. We've got some of the offcuts that we used here. So we've got some of the shank, some of the ribs that we made for the sauce, and we've just flaked it down. So again, we're not wasting any of the animal, and this has got so much flavour. It's such a different sort of flavour. It's braised for that long, so it all intakes. It does need a little bit of cooking, but the end result is well worth it. So we've just flaked that down. So this is similar to like your sort of pulled meats. We've got some diced garlic. We've got some diced raisins to keep in line with the sort of Moroccan. We've got a little bit of ginger. We've got some chopped parsley and coriander. We've got some chopped capers, some diced shallots, and finally, a squeeze of orange. The rice is now cooking down a little bit, so I've got a little bit of chicken stock here. I'm just going to add that to it, and once that's steamed through, we're going to pull it off. I quite like a little bit of a bite to mine. You can cook it right down. But for me, that's not far off there. And then we're just going to season a little bit of salt and black pepper. We're just going to combine all those ingredients into this mix as well. You can put whatever you want. You can put almonds, you can put pine nuts, the apricots. The list is however you want it. And also a good one for this, if you want to do a sort of canapé or so on, you can make it like a spring roll. So still use the pulled meat. You can do it with a tiny bit of soy, but don't put too much in because it'll be too salty. A little bit of soy, a little bit of honey, maybe a little bit of ginger. Same sort of thing, roll it up, and then you get a really nice spring roll. Again, these can be made up, put in the freezer, and kept. You can deep fry them or oven roast them depending on your preference. So, fold one side in, fold the other side in, and then roll up. Just finish with a little bit of butter. You can use egg white if you like. And there we go. So fold in, roll up. Tiny little bit of butter just to stick it. And there we have those ready to go in the oven. If you put them in the oven, we've baked ours, so they'll take about 10 to 15 minutes on about 170 degrees. So we've now got our Muntjac tagine taken out the oven. So we're just gonna open it up now. And now you can see all those fantastic flavors. The stock's in there, all the veg is cooked down. You can smell all the aromatic spices, and that's pretty much ready to go. We're just gonna finish onto that with some smashed pomegranate. Some fresh coriander. Again, don't worry about chopping it. And then some pumpkin seeds. Then we're good to dish. So we've got the cauliflower rice that, again, really healthy, just natural vegetables, cooked in a bit of chicken stock. We've got our Muntjac tagine with all those Moroccan spices and flavors. We've got these filo parcels, which has got the raisins and all that shank and shoulder meat in. And then we've just got, to finish it off, a nice bit of yoghurt. So that's our second dish that we've done today, Muntjac tagine.